they discovered a mysterious prayer of Saint Benedict that shatters curses in minutes. Few knew what truly happened that night. The air hung thick with dread, a weight almost palpable. Shadows crept through the alleyways of the ancient city, where history whispered secrets into the dark corners of the mind. An unsuspecting group of scholars, clad in layers of faded robes, stumbled upon a hidden manuscript. Its pages, weathered and fragile, glimmered with the promise of revelation. This was no ordinary text. It bore the name of Saint Benedict, a figure revered for his wisdom and sanctity. The manuscript spoke of a prayer said to unravel the threads of despair that bound souls in torment. The very thought sent shivers down their spines. Could a simple invocation wield such power? The legends claimed it could turn the tide against the darkest of curses. In the heart of this bustling town, once vibrant with lively banter, lay a haunting silence. Streets once filled with joyous laughter now echoed with cries of despair, each voice swallowed by shadows. Families shattered, friendships crumbled. The curses ran deep, tangled within the fabric of their lives, a cruel grip tightening with every passing day. The prayer was said to be ancient. Yet, no one fully understood how it came to be. Was it a gift from God? A divine secret lost to time? As the scholars gathered, they murmured of miracles, of blinded eyes opened, of broken hearts mended. But could they truly believe? The night grew colder, cloaked in uncertainty. They felt their hearts racing, breaths quickening, as they contemplated the weight of what they held. As the candle flickered, casting ominous shadows, an internal conflict brewed. Some whispered of hope. Others scoffed, their skepticism echoing like distant thunder. Yet, a single voice cut through the tension. What if this is the key? The question hung in the air, heavy with promise and doubt, freezing time for a breathless moment. Then, a loud crash echoed through the streets, shattering their reverie. The windows rattled, heartbeats quickened. Gasps filled the room. With unease gnawing at their insides, they exchanged glances, caught between fear and the tantalizing prospect of salvation. What did this mysterious prayer hold? Would it really break the chains of despair? Or was it merely an illusion, a flicker of light in an ever-tightening darkness? Their hearts raced with curiosity and trepidation as they moved closer to the truth. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The night wore on, shadows deepening as the air thickened with anticipation. The scholars, still trembling from the crash that echoed nearby, pondered their next steps. The weight of the manuscript felt heavier in their hands, its leather cover cool and unyielding, like the very secrets it held. With a mix of reverence and trepidation, they gathered around a table draped in worn linen, where candles struggled against the encroaching darkness. Flickering flames illuminated ancient symbols etched into the manuscript's border, a sign that perhaps something divine pulsed beneath the surface. What if we read it aloud? One of the scholars proposed, his voice quivering like the candlelight. Is it not a form of worship? A way to invite the power of the prayer into our midst? The others exchanged cautious glances. The legend spoke of unexplainable phenomena surrounding the prayer, miraculous healings, curses that faded with a whisper. Could the very act of voicing it conjure its essence? Reluctance hung thick in the air, yet curiosity propelled them forward. As they gathered around, each scholar held their breath, feeling the raw energy of the moment. They knew that once they crossed this threshold, they would not return unchanged. One scholar began to read, his voice at first barely a murmur. "O Lord, guide the souls of the lost. Unravel the chains that bind them. What lay beyond those words? A sense of impending doom danced with flickers of hope. With each verse spoken, the candle flames began to flicker more violently, as if responding to an unseen force. The air crackled with tension, and a low hum resonated around the room, vibrating through their very bones. Suddenly, a gust swept through the space, rattling the windows and extinguishing the flames. The scholars gasped, grasping one another's arms, a mixture of fear and exhilaration encircling them. Then, in the sudden darkness, came the sound of a whisper that twisted and turned like smoke rising to heaven. "Who dares call upon the sacred name?" The words danced through the air, neither threatening nor welcoming, but laced with challenge. Awe and dread intertwined as the scholars fell silent, each one grappling with their own understanding of the power they had unleashed. They could scarcely breathe, caught in a web of uncertainty that pulled them between reverence and doubt. Another scholar, now emboldened by the reckoning of the moment, spoke with trembling conviction. "We seek understanding. We seek salvation from despair. Will your prayer truly work?" Silence enveloped the room once more, an expectant hush that seemed to bind them closer together. The air shimmered as they waited, hearts pounding in sync with the pulse of anticipation, before the unseen voice returned. "To wield the power of the prayer, one must first unearth the true nature of their curses. Each soul carries its own darkness, hidden but not forgotten. You must confront what lies beneath." As fear laced itself with urgency, the scholars exchanged glances of realization. Every one of them bore the scars of their own struggles, the heavy weight of sin, doubt, and despair. If they were to break these chains collectively, they would first need to be vulnerable before one another. What secrets lay buried within their hearts? Were they truly prepared to confront their darkest fears? As the candle flickered back to life, casting a shaky glow around them, they prepared to delve into their truths. The path ahead remained shrouded in mystery, and the prayer, their beacon of hope, remained poised to either lead them into freedom or deeper into darkness. Would they uncover the very essence of their despair, or would the invocation remain shrouded in the mysteries of faith? For each of them, there remained one crucial question: was the power to shatter the curses truly within their grasp, or was it just another flicker in the night? As the candlelight flickered and cast wavering shadows across the walls, the scholars stood on the precipice, each soul battling their internal storms. The reverberations of the mysterious voice lingered in the air, a daunting reminder of the weight of their inquiry. They all could feel it. The bare necessity of facing their truths became an urgent whisper in their hearts, mingling fear with a burning desire to confront what lay hidden. With a deep, steadying breath, the first scholar, known as Eliab, stepped forward. He unlatched the armor of his doubts and shield of pride, revealing the vulnerabilities he had hidden for so long. "I have harbored resentments towards my family, bitter memories that cling like shadows in the corners of my mind," he confessed, his voice low but resolute. "I have let anger foster a darkness that dims my spirit. If I am to seek salvation, I must first forgive those who have wronged me, especially myself." The room felt heavier, as though the very atmosphere thickened with the weight of his confession. The others listened intently, feeling the tension as Eliab's voice trembled but grew stronger amidst the shadows. A pause hung in the air before another scholar, Miriam, stepped forward, emboldened by his courage. "I, too, carry burdens," she said, her eyes glimmering with unshed tears. "Years of failed endeavors, choices that seemed right at the time, but left me adrift. I fear that my life has become a series of missed calls from the divine, the fleeting moments where I failed to recognize grace in my despair." Her vulnerability wrapped around them like an embrace, drawing the attention and resulting in reframing their complicated thoughts on failure and redemption. With each revelation, a palpable sense of release gnawed at the corners of their conviction. The assembly began to see through the veils of their facades, hesitant yet willing to reveal their shadows to one another. the burdens of shame and regret spilled forth, like a river unchained, flowing freely into the vessel of this moment. I have wrestled with my doubts of faith, allowing them to blind me from the truth of my own heart, came Tomas's voice, a sharp intake of breath marking his entrance into vulnerability. The faith I shared seemed a facade, while I hesitated to trust the divine path. If we are to engage with the power of this prayer, then I must confront my walls, my hesitations, and relinquish control over what I cannot hold. As the details of their struggles adorned the space between them, semblances of chains rattled softly, metaphorical links binding them to their fears. Each soul illuminated deeper layers of pain, regret, and the desire for liberation. "Why must we confront our darkness?" murmured Leora, the last to join the confessional circle, burdened by the anchor of grief. "Must we truly expose ourselves in such a raw manner?" Her voice trembled with uncertainty, but floated up, as if seeking affirmation. Strength is not found in fierceness alone, but in the courage to reveal one's wounds, Eliab reassured her gently. It is through our brokenness that we can seek healing. Forgiveness and acceptance of ourselves lead the way for the sacred prayer to mend our souls. In that flickering candlelight, a solidarity grew among the scholars. The room, once dense with uncertainty, now pulsed with a darker yet illuminating energy of shared burdens. It was a verbal tapestry woven from threads of human experience, collective anguish merging into a profound hope for redemption. As the last dusk settled behind the curtained windows, the mysterious presence of the voice returned, this time softer, coaxing them to surrender. Only when the truth within each heart is unearthed and embraced, will the power of the prayer entwine with your spirits. You stand at the threshold of transformation. Take the leap into the depths of your souls, and awaken the light that can shatter the chains binding you. The scholars steadied each other, heartbeats synchronizing as they gathered their courage, ready to pronounce the prayer unitedly. But within the atmosphere, an unspoken question coursed through their minds. Was this unveiling enough to unlock the burdens they carried? Would the strength found in vulnerability catalyze the power they yearned to access? Or would the shadows respond with their own dark riddles, challenging every ounce of their resolve? With the weight of their revelations hanging in the air, a stirring anticipation filled the room. Eliab, kneeling before the flickering flames, took a deep breath that seemed to encompass the fears of his companions. "We must approach this with humility," he murmured, acknowledging that the very act of engaging with this ancient prayer carries its own mystery and power. As the others settled into their places around the small table adorned with sacred symbols, each faced not only the flickering light, but the flickering shadows of their own doubts. The prayer of Saint Benedict, rumored to hold the power to shatter curses and dispel darkness, loomed large in their hearts. The scroll containing the words lay in the center, an unassuming vessel for an incantation that could transform the very fabric of their existence. Miriam, her hands trembling slightly, reached out and picked up the scroll. "This prayer is not merely ink on parchment," she observed, her voice imbued with newfound significance. "It is a channel through which divine energy flows, a conduit for our intentions. If we utter these words while holding on to our fears, will we not be inviting those shadows to eclipse our prayers?" Tomas looked around the group, his blue eyes piercing through the uncertainty. What if the curses we wish to dispel are not just external but rooted deep within us? Can a prayer truly cleanse what we have fought to conceal? His question lingered, an echo bouncing off the walls where other shadows danced. A profound silence enveloped them as they collectively pondered the implications of his statement. Leora, still grappling with the anchor of grief, spoke softly, in seeking to sever the ties of pain and sorrow, we may unearth parts of ourselves we are not yet willing to confront. She clenched her fists in her lap. Is our heart brave enough to bear what may rise? Eliab nodded, feeling the pulse of their collective fear. Perhaps the true essence of this prayer lies not in what we wish to achieve, but rather in the state of our hearts as we approach it. If we offer ourselves fully, each scar and ache laid bare, what energies might we release into the cosmos? The flickering candle cast long shadows around them, the undulating waves of warmth contrasting with the chill of uncertainty. The mysterious voice, now palpable again, whispered through the room, a comforting yet haunting reminder of the journey ahead. You shall face the shadows that have long dwelled within, for only in the embrace of this darkness will you find the light that follows swallowing hard. Miriam released a shaky breath. What if the light reveals something we cannot accept? Must we not prepare for what may emerge when we invoke this prayer? Readiness lies in surrender, Eliab said resolutely, in the unyielding belief that beyond the horizon of our pain lies the possibility for unbound grace. Even as we hesitate, we are destined for revelation. As the moment drew near, they found themselves caught between the tether of their fears and the allure of liberation. Leora's voice trembled as she finally spoke. Perhaps the greatest curse of all is the one we impose upon ourselves, the belief that we are unworthy of love, healing, or forgiveness. Indeed, Tomas contributed, his tone somber yet hopeful. We must acknowledge these shadows while allowing the sacred light entry. But how can we trust that this prayer carries the power we seek? Will it cascade through the universe and return to us manifested, or will the echoes of doubt shatter our resolve? The question hung suspended in the air, a mystery dancing just beyond their grasp. With a collective resolve deepening, the scholars united in their intent, leaning closer to the scroll that held their fate. Their hands, trembling and uncertain, hovered above the sacred words. And as they poised themselves to begin, a whisper deep within the recesses of their hearts arose, a question that would linger long after the words fell from their lips. What shadows might surface as they dared to invoke such potent legacy, and what price might they pay for their freedom? The air was thick with expectancy, a palpable tension that promised change yet whispered of unknown trials. After a long moment of silence, Eliab's voice cracked through the stillness. "Let us prepare our hearts," he urged, the fervor in his tone igniting a sense of urgency among them. "Before we speak, we must give heed to the burdens we carry, to the shackles that bind us willingly or unwillingly." Miriam's brow furrowed, caught in the throes of contemplation. But how do we ready ourselves for the unknown? To confront our darkest fears is akin to stepping into a storm without a sail. Her vulnerability painted her words with an unguarded authenticity, compelling each of them to delve deeper into their motivations and apprehensions. "Perhaps," Leora interjected, her voice steadier now, "if we speak our fears aloud, we can lift the weight of secrecy from our hearts. In this shared vulnerability, we might strip those shadows of their power." Encouraged, Tomas nodded. "Let this moment be a confessional, a sacred unveiling. I fear that my doubts may drown me, that the longing for healing will not be enough to breach the chasms I've built around my heart." A hint of desperation crept into his voice, and his gaze dropped to the table, the elegant carvings etched within calling for attention. "I too harbor fears," Miriam added, her hands now gripping the scroll tightly. "What if the prayer reveals a truth too bitter to digest? Perhaps my heart has grown accustomed to its pain, and acceptance feels like betrayal of my suffering." Eliab leaned forward, studying each face acutely. "By understanding our fears, we may unearth their origins. We owe it not only to ourselves, but to the prayer we are to invoke. Its purpose cannot cleanse what we dare not acknowledge." As the group collectively inhaled, a sorrowful recognition swept through them. They sat bound not merely by shared purpose, but by shared experience, each harboring inner battles yet to be confronted. The swelling enormity of their past echoed through their thoughts, as they moved closer toward their individual truths. Then, with the backdrop of swirling shadows and flickering light, Leora broke the stillness. "I am crushed under the weight of grief for those I have lost. I pray this healing does not come without taking something of me in return. I cannot endure another loss." Her admission resounded like a drum, clear and heavy yet crafted with vulnerability. Loss has led me to fear connection, Tomas confessed. I tell myself I am protecting those I love, but perhaps I am only shielding my heart from the potential of further heartache. The truth seeped from within him, stripping away the facade he had worn for too long. As the layers of unspoken fears peeled away, Miriam began to recite a part of the scroll, her voice growing stronger with each syllable, though the edges of her announcement quivered against the depth of her emotions. In the presence of darkness, let us stand to transform our hurt into the balm of grace. Eliab joined in softly. By facing what seems to entrap us, we unravel the very chains that hold us fast. With their voices intermingling, and intimacy wrapped around them, binding their hearts in a powerful pact. But as they continued to chant, the shadows in the room flickered ominously, responding to their declarations in ways both thrilling and alarming. The very air seemed to echo with their vulnerabilities, swelling until a low hum wove itself into being, reverberating against the walls. Startled, they halted mid-prayer, their eyes wide as the flickering flames danced wildly. What words of power had they unleashed? For in that moment, it felt as if the prayers were no longer merely spoken by them. Rather, they seemed to spiral upward, reaching for realms unseen, seeking answers beyond their understanding. What have we awakened? Tomas breathed, his voice a mix of awe and fear. The room felt both sacred and charged, and each member of the gathering sensed an altered state. A new weight hung in the air, a promise intertwined with an uncertainty that brushed against the tender edges of their psyche. Ultimately, their hearts echoed with an unresolved question. What if the shadows they sought to dispel had answers of their own, yet to be revealed, waiting patiently for the right moment to step into the light? In the stillness that followed their collective pause, an unbidden stillness enveloped them, holding their breaths captive like precious secrets unspoken. Slowly, the shadows that had danced so fervently began to recede, as if the very act of recognition had calmed their restless nature. The flickering flame settled, leaving a steady glow that cast a soft light upon their faces. Perhaps we have drawn closer to understanding something fundamental, Eliab ventured, his brow knitted in thought. If our fears shape our reality, can it be that the shadows around us are but reflections of our own inner turmoil? They arise not to haunt us, but to awaken within us the strength we possess to confront the depths of our being. Miriam listened intently, her heart still taut with apprehension yet now mingled with a flurry of hope. Could it be that this prayer we utter, the living spirit of it, serves as the bridge between our fragility and our resilience? A prayer not to escape our shadows, but to enter into dialogue with them? Leora remained silent, pondering this profound connection. It occurred to her then that perhaps the essence of the prayer was not solely about healing, but also about understanding what had led them to their present state, a journey inward as much as one towards the divine. With renewed conviction, Tomas spoke next. What if we embrace the shadows as guides rather than enemies? They may reveal truths about ourselves which we have long avoided, truths that, when acknowledged, could forge new paths to healing? His eyes held a flicker of newfound understanding, one that sparked a tentative ember of courage. A hum of agreement passed through the group, their hearts beginning to blend in a collective vibration filled with possibility. Let us draw forth our intentions, Eliab urged, sensing their growing resolve. What if we could join our voices and faith to invoke a prayer that does more than merely ask for healing? Let it be a call to recognize and speak to the weight we carry, to break free from the patterns that no longer serve us. As he spoke, the air thickened with electric anticipation, almost like the moments before an unexpected storm. With the weight of their shared journey pressing upon them, they each took a turn, casting their fears into the air, as if to shed them like the leaves of a tree in autumn. I fear the weight of my grief will smother my spirit, Leora confessed once more, her voice breaking against the walls of vulnerability. But I now contemplate perhaps in my grief lies the essence of love, the very same love that connects us all. Miriam shared her unease. I fear change more than I fear pain, Yet I find solace in the thought that pain carries with it lessons meant to awaken my heart. Perhaps it is time to embrace the unwanted with open arms. As each member voiced their fears again, a ripple of understanding threaded through their hearts, illuminated by a gentle light that danced beyond the mere physical. Without warning, the air vibrated, saturating the room with a sound both haunting and beautiful, a melody that felt woven through the very fabric of existence. The energy stirred as if sentient, beckoning them to delve deeper into their connection with the unseen. "What ethereal force is this?" Tomas whispered as he clung to a felt sense of wonder. Eliab's eyes sparkled with realization. "Do you sense it? This is the prayer we invoke, resonating through us. It calls for authenticity, for understanding that our burdens are not ours alone. It asks us to release what shackles us, urging our spirits to unite in purpose." But even as they spoke, a pause lingered in the air. The vibrations reached a peak, swirling in chaotic beauty, perplexing them with an unsettling intensity. It was a question of readiness versus uncertainty, a delicate balance resting on the edge of their collective threshold. What do we truly seek from this prayer, and are we prepared for the revelations that will emerge from its depths? Would the answers they sought stretch beyond personal healing, entwining their fates with a greater mystery? As the haunting melody weaved through the air, the atmosphere shifted once more, charged with both anticipation and trepidation. Each breath felt heavy with expectation, as if the very essence of their being was poised on the brink of revelation. The warmth of the flickering flames now seemed to pulse in rhythm with their hearts, momentarily merging the sacred space into a tapestry of shared spirit. Could it be, Miriam pondered aloud, her voice a tender thread against the cacophony of emotions, that the ancient prayer we seek also carries the weight of our collective journey through time? That in its essence, it holds answers not just for us, but for all who have walked this path before? Eliab nodded slowly, a knowing glint in his eyes. The legacy of prayers, especially those that bind us to the light and shield us from darkness, like Saint Benedict's, may be far greater than we comprehend. It is said that they bear the power to break curses that have woven themselves into the fabric of our lives, granting us freedom from chains we do not even realize we bear. Leora's breath caught in her throat. But what if the shadows we face, the curses we wish to break, are not simply external? What if they are rooted in our hearts, the fears we harbor, and the doubts we nourish? Can a prayer truly shatter what we entertain in our thoughts every day? We must confront each shadow, Tomas urged, not just with intent to shatter, but with the intention to transform. Each fear needs acknowledgement. Each pain must be embraced if we wish for the prayer to whisper freedom into our souls. As they spoke, the melody shifted, its cadence inviting them deeper into introspection. The surrounding air felt thick, almost as if the very walls closed in around them, subjecting their inner turmoils to scrutiny. They felt unmoored yet strangely anchored, tethered together in a shared commitment to delve into the unknown depths of their spirits. "Perhaps," Eliab continued, glancing from face to face, "the strength of our unity is what calls forth this prayer. It is in lifting our fears into the light that we forge a sacred bond capable of transforming not only our realities, but the fabric of our lineage." With that, they formed a circle, hands clasping one another, offering their trust as they prepared to echo the ancient words of the prayer they had encountered along their journey. Yet even as they organized their thoughts into coherent phrases, a flicker of doubt emerged. Was it adequate? Were they truly ready to summon such potent forces into their lives? The melody's crescendo beckoned them to vocalize their thoughts, drawing them towards an echo of prayers long forgotten. "What binds us?" they questioned, each voice a ripple in the pond of existence. "What curses do we seek to lift?" It felt as though the very air around them shivered in response, a reminder of everything left unsaid, lurking beneath the surface. Still, uncertainty loomed large, a cloud obscuring the pathway ahead. Could their sincere intentions be enough to decipher the complexities of their hearts? And what if the act of invoking Saint Benedict's prayer brought with it unforeseen challenges, perhaps layers of grief they had yet to face? A thoughtful silence enveloped them once more, broken only by the steady rhythm of their breathing in unison. In this contemplative pause, they felt the weight of their undertaking rest heavily on their shoulders, a reminder that the answers sought could unravel far greater mysteries than they ever anticipated. What truths lay dormant within their souls, hidden beneath the weight of their collective histories? Would the mysterious prayer not only reveal, but also require them to face the shadows they had thus far avoided? As the gathered companions stood in a circle, each holding the other's gaze firmly, a palpable heaviness filled the air, as if the very fabric of their reality was shifting. The flickering flames danced irregularly, casting shadows across their determined faces. The melody began to slow, its haunting beauty echoing their resolve, leading them into a profound silence, a liminal space pregnant with the promise of transformation. Eliab took a deep breath, closing his eyes to center himself, eager to embrace whatever came next. "Are we prepared for what the prayer may unearth?" he finally asked, his voice low but steady. "For the whispers of our ancestry, the burdens of our past?" Miriam opened her eyes, a spark of courage igniting within her. "It is the very shadows we fear that hold the keys to our liberation. If we utter the words of this prayer, we must do so with open hearts, ready to confront the depths of our own history and the history of those who came before us." "Let it be so, then," Leora exclaimed softly, squeezing Tomas's hand as if drawing strength from him. "No longer will we hide from that which haunts us. We stand united, ready to face the weight of our souls." Tomas nodded fervently, his heart racing at the prospect of liberation. "Let us speak the prayer, and may it illuminate truths long overshadowed by ignorance and fear." He glanced at the flickering flames, the light revealing what had remained obscured. "If we must travel through the shadows, we shall do it together, united in intention, holding tight to the anchor of our bond." The four of them took a collective breath, and in unison, they began to intone the sacred words that were said to have the power of breaking curses and ushering in divine clarity. As their voices rose and fell, weaving the ancient phrases into the air like delicate threads of light, something began to shift. An unseen energy surged around them, enveloping the circle with warmth, yet it felt charged and alive, both comforting and terrifying. With each repetition of the prayer, they sensed an intricate web connecting their histories, unraveling moments of sorrow and joy that had shaped their lineage. Each syllable seemed to draw forward shadows hidden for generations, whispers of disappointments, triumphs, regrets, and love. The outward cadence of the prayer reverberated within, echoing their hearts and minds. Suddenly, visions invaded their consciousness. A tapestry of family faces flickered before them. They saw ancestors, tribulations etched into their features, passions ignited in their eyes, anguish mirrored within the lines of their brows. Each of these souls had been a thread in the fabric of existence, carrying burdens, battles, and blessings alike. Were they engaging with their past, or were the echoes of unresolved pain simply an extension of themselves? A sense of urgency quickened Leora's pulse. As a flood of images assaulted her, she saw herself as a child, grappling with fear and loneliness, burdened by an unrelenting need for approval from a parent. In that moment, she recognized that unhealed wounds had been passed down, interwoven with her own fears. Tomas felt the weight of a legacy too, as his vision shifted to a figure lost in the fields, a grandfather whose dreams had been trampled by circumstance, a heart heavy with aspirations crushed by the weight of reality. It struck him that unfulfilled desires could linger and affect their very lives today, still tethered to their spirits like chains. As each of them confronted their own haunting lineage, the shadows grew louder, revealing their displeasure at being brought into the light. The flame flickered violently, and doubt seeped back into the circle. Were they truly ready to pull these hidden emotions to the forefront? Would facing these truths lead us to healing, or fracture the bond they shared? Amidst the rising tide of emotions, the prayer faltered briefly, a moment of vulnerability where they felt their unity simmer. But resilient, they collectively leaned into the cadence, determined to resist the weight of despair and instead embraced their collective truth. The air grew heavy with tension and revelation. Would they emerge from this encounter forever altered, or would they falter under the weight of their discoveries? What remnants of their ancestral burdens would they carry forward, and at what cost? Could the powerful prayer truly break those invisible chains, or was there something deeper lurking within, veiled in the shadows yet to be illuminated? In the moments that followed the collective utterance of the prayer, an uncanny stillness fell over the gathering. The flames danced erratically, now illuminating more than just their faces. They cast light upon the secrets of the past. Eliab, with his eyes still closed, felt an unfamiliar warmth envelop him, as if the prayers had transcended the physical realm and woven through the very fabric of his soul. "Do you feel that?" he breathed, his voice barely a whisper, as if the weight of discovery necessitated reverence. "It is as though the essence of our ancestors is pressing upon us, urging us to acknowledge them." Miriam opened her eyes, her gaze meeting the fervor in Eliab's. "It is the intertwining of our spirits with theirs perhaps. They are waiting for us to release them from the bonds that we unknowingly uphold." The notion sparked within them a blend of fear and reverence. Could they truly change the trajectory of their legacies? As they delved deeper into their history through the prayer, echoes of voices rose around them. At first, it was a faint whisper, growing steadily into a chorus of memories. Each voice seemed to carry a lesson, a lament, and a plea. "Listen," she urged, her heart racing with the weight of realization. "The words of our forebears are woven into these shadows." It dawned on them that the very shadows they had feared now appeared as guardians of truth, intertwined with their own lives, begging to be acknowledged. Tomas felt a shiver course through him, a blend of awareness and dread. But what if their burdens are too heavy to bear? What if in confronting them, we only deepen the wound? The flickering flames dimmed slightly, as if responding to Tomas's words. Leora, aware of the shift in atmosphere, took a step forward. "Is it not in acknowledging these hidden sorrows that we grant them the release they so desperately seek? Perhaps our healing is intertwined with our willingness to embrace their pain." Her resolve gave them strength. However, doubt lurked like an uninvited guest ready to disrupt their union. But how do we navigate the weight of grief without it consuming us? Eliab mused aloud, glancing at the shadows that flickered ominously around them. Will we simply be vessels for their despair, or will we find a way to transform it? As the four of them joined hands tightly, they were suddenly gripped by a wave of emotion. Each of their ancestors, with faces both familiar and foreign, surged into their consciousness once more. They sensed burdens that spanned generations, love lost, hopes dashed, forgiveness withheld. The weight bore down on them, igniting an instinctive urge to pull away, yet their unity held strong. And then came a voice, piercing through the chaotic chorus, a soothing tone that resonated with clarity. "You are not carriers of our wounds, but harbingers of our redemption." The words floated between them, drenched in a wisdom that felt ancient yet current, inviting them to release their fear. Miriam's heart throbbed in recognition. This is not merely an unveiling of sorrow, it is a call to action. She felt emboldened as something inside her began to shift, a knot of apprehension slowly unraveled. With newfound clarity, she pleaded with her companions, "Together, let us declare healing not just for ourselves, but for those who came before us. Let us be the bridge that connects their pain to redemption." As they stood firm in solidarity, a spark ignited in the center of their circle, a golden light emerging from the ashes of their fears. But even as they extended their intentions to embrace the generations of hurt, an awareness settled in the air. The path to healing was fraught with risks. Will we have the strength to echo our ancestors' cries for redemption? Or will we retreat into the shadows of fear that lurk alongside our truths? Eliab wondered aloud, a hint of uncertainty creeping back into his voice. Each heart united pulsated with the weight of that question of pressing reality. They had yet to confront. As the chorus of voices grew fainter, the light began to flicker, leaving them suspended between the realms of the known and the unknown. Their journey had only begun, and there lay another question waiting to be unearthed. What chains and blessings from their lineage were yet to be discovered, and what shadows still covered the path ahead? As the golden light pulsed with the force of their collective intention, a deeper awareness began to settle in the hearts of the scholars, wrestling with the complexity of their task. The echoes of their ancestors whispered a timeless truth: pain might be an inheritance, but it was not an endless cycle. This was their moment, the essence of the prayer, and the weight of legacy converging to usher in transformation. Each shadow carries a lesson, Eliab murmured, his voice gaining strength as he stood before his companions. In this light, we are not merely victims of our history, we are agents of change. Let it be our mission to unravel the burdens our lineage imposed, while honoring their struggles. We can allow their stories to guide us towards healing. The group's gaze was drawn inexorably to the scroll, its edges shimmering in melody with the life that now surged in the circle. It felt alive, imbued with their experiences, entreating their hearts to unite with its call, a summons not just for personal healing, but for collective reclamation of peace that resonated in their ancestors' unfulfilled longings. We must acknowledge that our healing begins where we confront our truths. Leora spoke fervently, her heart emboldened by the brewing confidence of the moment. And in doing so, we must also confront the potential for deep sorrow, the possibility of loss. Perhaps this prayer invokes not just the light, but also the heavy, raw moments that have marked all of us. Miriam, wrapping her arms around her knees, nodded in comprehension. The shadows have often been our teachers, yet we've turned away from them, fearing they would consume us. But in this moment, I can feel a shift. She paused, her voice thick with emotion. What if we were to redefine our relationship with these shadows? If acceptance lies within the courage to face both the light and the dark, then, by embracing them, we can truly initiate change. Empowered by the raw honesty shared among them, Clara breathed deeply, sensing a lightness coalesce where their burdens had once hung heavily. Then let us not only invoke this prayer for ourselves, but for those who precede us, she declared. Let us unite our voices in this sacred space, so that their pain does not have to be passed down any longer. Let our love be the antidote to their sorrow. With resolute unity, each scholar grasped the scroll, their fingers tracing the words that now resonated with profound significance, echoing their truest intentions. They understood that every syllable uttered would not only bear their spirits' yearnings, but would also acknowledge the struggles winding through their bloodlines. As their voices intertwined, intoning the sacred invocation, the weight of their collective resolve expanded to envelop the room. The walls pulsed with energy, resonating as the pulse of time coalesced, threading their spirits into a continuous lineage of reclamation, not just for themselves, but an act of redemption for all who had passed through the quiet turmoil of anguish. May we rise from the depths of despair, Eliab's voice soared, woven with the prayers of fractured hopes, into the light of compassion and grace. Let our hearts break the chains that shackle both the living and the departed, Leora invoked, fiercely channeling the emotions rising within. If responding to this communion of their emotions, shadows twirled elegantly before them, swirling into forms that were neither menacing nor peaceful, but transformative. What had once been a fearsome presence now wore faces of anguish, interlacing with moments of beauty, a shimmering mosaic of life and legacy in its truest form. Whether they were burdens or blessings, vulnerabilities unspooled around them as threads woven into the tapestry of existence, illuminating the whispers of those who walked before. The tears shed began to cleanse the atmosphere, lightly washing away the fears trapped within, evolving them into something remarkable. Tomas felt a profound shift among them, and for the first time, he allowed himself to imagine that their experiences, both triumphant and tragic, could intertwine into a narrative rich with purpose. "Let this prayer be a bridge," he implored, "between shadow and light. May we forever carry our ancestors through a lens of gratitude as we transform their legacies into beacons of hope." The culmination of their voices reached an altitude of harmony, as golden light swelled more intensely like a sunrise dispersing the darkest night. The air shimmered with the vibrations of acknowledgement, acceptance, and renewal, a wave cascading down through their shared history. With every utterance, they dismantled the chains that had silently bound them, both affirming their own voices while honoring those who had been silenced in despair. The very essence of the prayer rippled through them, breaking upon their hearts, bursting forth like a flood liberated from long-standing dam. As it poured through their consciousness, the scholars found warmth stitching together those scattered pieces. Their fears began to dissipate, replaced by an unwavering belief that unity born from vulnerability was indeed transformative. With the final note of their invocation hanging in the air, they inhaled the lingering energy, drawing it deep into their souls. As they felt their connection to those who had come before, solidifying a bridge forged not only of their pain, but also of their love. And in that powerful moment, clarity unveiled itself, a truth so satisfying, so resolute, that they sensed it echo on the winds of time, punctuated by the unwavering presence of the divine. "We are not alone," they whispered in unison, acknowledging the sacred bonds etched in their hearts. "From shadow to light, from isolation to connection, we are one, a tapestry woven through generations." As the final syllables of their shared prayer dissipated into the air, a profound stillness filled the room, the kind of silence that speaks volumes. The flickering flames calmed, illuminating their faces aglow with metamorphosis, while the shadows surrendered to grace, bowing gently before the inevitability of love. United, the scholars could feel waves of serenity pulse through their souls, each heartbeat becoming the new foundation of hope braided with vulnerability. What began as an inquiry into despair had transformed into an awakening, a powerful revelation that transcended their individual struggles and stitched together the fabric of fate. Standing together, bound by their shared experiences, they held the promise of continuing this sacred journey, a path leading towards healing not only for themselves, but for all generations yet to come. It was a legacy of love, of interwoven truths, promising to shatter every curse that dared dwell within the hearts of their lineage. As they stepped back from the threshold of darkness, into the light of possibility, the truth rippled forth like a stone thrown upon still waters. Together, they had become the architects of change, custodians shaping destiny. In this melding of wills, the true power of faith emerged, a transformative light poised to illuminate the paths of others, echoing infinitely beyond their time.